Alrighty, folks, welcome back to another 2024 U.S. Senate prediction. As we know, we are only about 3 weeks away from this election on November 5th, and frankly, we have so many seats we have to cover. Let's get right into it. First and foremost, without being too verbose, we do have a solid lead for Republican candidate Tim Sheehy over John Tester, a guy who has been battle tested, pun intended. Matter of fact, he's been in office for about 20 years. Okay, now if you look at the polling, Sheehy is winning by 7. This is contrasted with the past. Earlier this summer, you noticed that John Tester was actually winning the race, but not so much anymore. In fact, the polling is not even as active as any of the other states that are up for Senate because obviously this is such a one sided affair. Most people tend to save their money at the national level when it comes to the state of Montana and its politics. But as you can see here, last October, so almost a year ago, you saw that Emerson, which is not the most liberal pollster, had John Tester, the incumbent Democrat, winning a Montana of all places, a state that Trump won last in 2020, I think by 17 percentage points. They had him up by 4%. Okay. Now, if you look recently, as of the past several months, he has had a several point lead in virtually every single poll. So that tells you all you need to know. So, anyway, the point being is that let's just give you a little bit of a sample. If you really want a summary as to why people are going to vote for Tim Sheehy over John Tester, this is basically it, okay? Phenotypically, just look at him at face value. Who are you going to vote for, okay? Left or right? I'm going left. Again, this is not a log cabin channel by any means, but come on, get real. But also just listen at the patronizing tone that John Tester has.
Take responsibility. But apologies matter. And how you treat people matter. And if you treat them with disrespect, other people will disrespect them.
Again, very much third grade school teacher attitude.
So like I said to begin with, you're a big guy. Just apologize.
We apologize.
How was that? You're running for Senate. You're a big man. Just apologize. You are like the chubby 70-year-old PE teacher. It's not going to work for Senate.
As for opening the border,
I didn't open the border.
Tester said,
Felt it. I didn't open the border. Just a dope. A bygone era. That's what John Tester exists in, really. Oh, Democrats were viable in Montana. Yeah, 15 years ago. Suffer John Tester. Okay, but now on the flip side, of course, Montana seems to be solid Republican, and if you disagree with me, click off the video now. But like if you're still around, because frankly, Maryland is not looking too hot for the GOP. Larry Hogan, who is very popular despite not being the most exciting candidate, to be clear, is somebody who was thought of being kind of in contention for a state that is so blue, like Maryland. Yet he does not really have what it takes to win. The polling is pretty discouraging, by the way. You look at the polling as of the last 100 days, you see that also Brooks is winning by an average of about 10 points, as you can see here with a chart. So, I mean, if you needed any more indication than that, did you know they had a debate 2 days ago? I didn't until just now. Why? Because it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's not really a race that can be won. When Kamala is likely going to win Maryland by over 20 points, it really doesn't make sense. I mean, it's a bigger pipe dream than for an incumbent Democrat to win Montana at the Senate level. So this is a fool's gold sort of campaign. And, when Biden was still in the race post-debate, you could have said, okay, maybe Hogan can slip it in there. But no. I think he's a little bit too chunky to get into that snake hole. And so he's not going to be able to slime his way through this one. Now, let's go to my home state of Arizona, where it's currently 80 degrees and it's 9 p.m., okay? 80 degrees, 9 p.m. in October. But anyway, Arizona is awesome for a couple different reasons. Number one, Trump is leading the state of Arizona right now. If you look to my right, you'll see that he's leading it by 1 percentage points. But guess what? What's so awful about this is that Kari Lake is getting destroyed by Ruben Gallego, even though she had what she wanted in the past week. She had a debate actually against Ruben, what she's been begging for. In fact, a lot of people would say that she would have won the governor's election against Katie Hobbs in 22 had she been able to have a debate, and I tend to agree. Now, there's the whole election shenanigans debacle too, but not even to address that. I'm just saying on paper, she would have won had she been able to debate. She's a pretty good speaker. I, in fact, asked her one of these questions, like one of these convoluted electoral nerd things, and so she gave a great political answer to that one. So I know firsthand that she's pretty good at speaking. That being said, you see the debate, and you could say Kerry won it 6-4, and you could say Ruben Gallego has like a cross between a Mexican accent and a gay lisp, and for a former Marine, that might be a little bit off-putting. Though I will tell you that still Ruben Gallego did not get trounced the way that you would have liked to have seen that happen. Think of it like how Kamala kind of like did not melt down literally physically like Biden did against Trump. I mean, you would have expected a clobbering, and you didn't quite get there. Now, again, independence could have resonated with the Republican in either case, though it's not really the triumphant win that you really need, you know? So, I mean, if that's the case, I mean, Lake had this one Hail Mary of, oh, the debate. It didn't really change the math at all. She's been losing anywhere from 5 to 8 percentage points on average for months now, it seems. And right now, she doesn't seem to be likely to win. Again, her polling aggregate is at 6.9 in the red. That's awful. And frankly, again, the trajectory, I mean, you can see how her numbers going down. Ruben's might be going down a little bit, but not enough to compensate. And so while the race looked kind of close when Biden was falling off and Kerry Lake was within like 4 or 3 points, it's not even the case anymore. I mean, if you're down by 7, it's looking dubious at best to have a shot at winning. Now, there's a couple things at hand here, though. Right now, Gallego's at 50% of the vote, which I can believe. But then Lake is only at 43. So that doesn't really make sense. What that begs the question of is that like 5% of people that are going to vote for Trump in Arizona are just not going to vote at all, which again doesn't really make sense that like they'd vote president, but then 1 in 10 Trump voters would not put in Senate Republican or something like that. It really doesn't make a lot of sense. But what I can believe is that yeah, she is running behind Trump by a few points. And if Trump's only winning by 1 point in Arizona according to the official polls, then on paper she's definitely losing. I disagree with that. She'll probably end up losing, let's say by 2, then Trump wins by 2. But anyway, case in point, in 2020, Mark Kelly defeated Martha McSally, the Republican, by about 2.3 percentage points. Now, Donald Trump lost Arizona officially by 0.3 in Arizona in 2020. So, Martha McSally on the exact same ballot underperformed Donald Trump by 2 points. Okay? So, that is basically what I see happening for Kari Lake. So, the real question here is will Donald Trump win Arizona by more than 2? According to the most recent polls, he's not. Could this change? Honestly, yes. And do I see him winning by more than 2? Yes. But as of right now, she's losing the race. Just view it that way. View it like you're at a -3 handicap for Kerry. Even if the polls are wrong, to assume they're 7 points wrong is a little bit of a wishful think or thought. Now, Republicans do have some better news out of Ohio. Right now, Sherrod Brown is is up by 2.6 over Bernie Moreno, which means Brown in Spanish. Ironic, I know, but also keep in mind that this is actually a good result. You might say, oh, the Democrat is up in Ohio. What the hell? But also and just note this, that Brown was up by a lot more back then. And to be quite clear, he was winning by like 5 to 8 percentage points throughout the summer for months. As of the last few weeks, though, the narrowing of the lead has been very palpable. Why is that the case? Did Sherrod Brown have a Biden moment, like a, completely just a lost face in front of everyone? No. Did something crazy happen? Did someone have a stroke? No. People are just making up their mind as the election comes together, okay? There's plenty of people that are blue collar, that are low propensity, white working class voters that are probably more towards that lane of Sherrod Brown's like progressive economic policies and like more supportive of tariffs and all this sort of thing. But then also when it comes to okay, but Trump or Kamala, Trump is likely going to win Ohio by 10 to 13 percentage points. And so there would have to be 1 in 4 Trump voters swapping to the other side of the aisle to vote for Sherrod Brown down ballot from Donald Trump himself. That is a huge ask. And so while yeah, the polling right now is looking pretty bad just on paper, understand a few things. Brown is at his lowest point polling wise ever. 2 is that Bernie Moreno is the strongest Republican he's ran against since at least 2012. And the third thing is, again, you're asking and begging that Trump's going to win Ohio by over 10 points and then still have the Republican beneath him lose. And it's not like Bernie Moreno is this like neo, not, it's not like he's a straight up skinhead. I mean, there's nothing crazy about the guy that I know of. So, I mean, at that point, what's the deal breaker if you're a Republican? So, Sherrod Brown is cooked. I mean, again, the polling is inaccurate. To be quite clear, if Trump wins Ohio by, let's say, 10, I could see Moreno winning by like 5. No problem there. Some more low-key good news for the Republican Party out of Pennsylvania, okay? McCormick versus Casey. So I believe his name is Bob McCormick, is someone who is so poised to actually beat Casey. It's somewhat surprising. Historically, if you've been a nerd like me and you watch my own content, you'd understand that I've been kind of averse to McCormick ever since 2022, but namely because he came off like as an aloof person, but also one that was, I mean, he was lacking a certain aura. But what he doesn't lack apparently is fundraising and money. Wow. So it's a niche scenario where all of a sudden the Democrats outspinning Republicans like crazy, like what happened with J.D. Vance when he ran for Senate in Ohio versus Tim Ryan, is not so much the case, and in fact is the opposite, where McCormick all of a sudden has a crap ton of money carpeting the state of Pennsylvania, and you have a Bob Casey who seems out of touch from what he's trying to portray himself as being. A moderate Democrat with Catholic support and a father with a storied legacy that is respected among the voters of that state. But McCormick is somebody who, again, should be able to run in line with Trump more or less, as there's not a crazy difference between them. So the coattails of Trump, who's leading in the state officially, but also in my head, also winning by a good amount in the state, they seem to be in a good concordance with each other. Unlike somebody like Kari Lake or somebody like Moreno, there isn't that X Factor Democrat candidate in Pennsylvania that will actually win the Senate for them. Casey, I gave him more credit than he really deserved. What really came to light as of recently, with the narrowing of the polls, by the way, is that Casey cannot really say he's a moderate and then at the same time have a voting record that's identical to a Kirsten Sinema or a Chuck Schumer or all these types that are despised, especially, again, the far left Democrats. You can't say, well, I'm a moderate, but I also just happen to vote with literally every single say, everything Kamala wants. You really don't have wiggle room at that point. So you could have said, oh, he was so strong electorally 20 years ago. Okay, but nowadays, what's going on? We see that with John Tester. I mean, old Yeller to pasture politically, right? So this is great to see as a Republican. And so honestly, this narrowing of the gap is very impressive. As you know, you see here in the past year, Casey's been up by an average of about 8 points, 7 points, 5 points, 5 points. Now that lead is down to 3.6, 3.3. Again, very good. The trajectory of the race is looking fantastic. We'll see what is to change later. As of right now, I'd say Bob Casey is still in the lead just ever so slightly, which is crazy. I would have thought that Trump would have won Pennsylvania by 1% and then Casey win by like 4. Now it's looking like Trump is likely going to win Pennsylvania by 3 and Casey's probably going to win by like 0.5 or something like that. So extremely close race there and super exciting. But moving on to Wisconsin, this one's also very peculiar. You have Eric Hovde, who again is somebody who should be able to ride the coattails of Donald Trump all the way damn near 100% of his vote ought to be Hovde's. But Baldwin, on the other hand, has a fundraising advantage that is yet to be compensated for. Democrats generally, and in Wisconsin, this is definitely the case. Again, the Republicans are just outgunned when it comes to advertisements and everything of the sort. And so hence why you see Baldwin winning over Hovde by 3 points in the aggregate. Now, the good news is that while she is still projected to win as of right now, and I agree with this notion, is that when you look at Baldwin earlier, and by earlier I mean only 5 months ago, she was up an average of 7 points over Eric Hovde. Hovde has then narrowed the lead all the way down to 3.30, 3.0. Very impressive stuff. Again, a similar trajectory to Pennsylvania, where now the Republicans down ballot are actually catching up with the Trump vote, as obviously that is logical. And so, for that reason, if Trump were to win Wisconsin by 1.5 to 2 points or better, I think Hovde will win. But again, it's all up to Donald Trump and how much he'll win by. Analogy wise, in the movies when they have the Chinook helicopter escaping Vietnam, and so you have the helicopter, let's say 20 feet above where the pad is, and it's like they're about to fly off the building, and they drop the soft ladder down. And you got to jump and then grab the ladder and then climb up. That is the Senate races in a nutshell for a lot of these guys. Trump needs to have enough of a cushion to where he can drop the ladder down and then he can pull these guys up, even though like without him they'd be dead in the water. Okay, that's my metaphor. Comment down below if you like that. Like the video if you like that analogy. Who would come up with that? I'm crazy. But with this final state of Michigan, my birth state, you'll see that Mike Rogers is going against Alyssa Slotkin, and more good news for the GOP here as well. Slotkin is not even at 50%. She has the lead. I'll admit that. She's up by 1.9 points, though Rogers is pretty close behind. You see, the recent polling has plenty of ties, and you see that even Atlas Intel, which is the best pollster as of 2020, no joke, up there with Rasmussen, in fact, better than Rasmussen on that one aspect, has Rogers up by 5. Now, that's an outlier. If you do any introductory stats in college, which I'm currently in, you'll know damn well that, again, a +5 and a C's of blues and ties is probably not accurate. But if it's even halfway there, then that's boding pretty well for the GOP. But even just to make my point stronger, you'll notice that when the race actually was declared, and by declared I mean the nominees were set, you'll notice that Slotkin was up at an average of 5 points in August, so a few months ago. Ever since then, the lead has been narrowing very gradually. Until now, you see that Slotkin is only up by not even 2 points. This is very good news. Look at all this blue with the one tie. But anyway, you see this. All this blue, all Democratic victories. But then all of a sudden, the blues are less strong. You know, where she's winning by 9, 10, 8, 10. You know, now she's winning by 1, 5, tied, 5, tied, 5, and then other 5, 4, 4. So you can see how it's narrowing majorly. This is really good news. And again, similar prognosis to Wisconsin and Pennsylvania. Depending on how well Trump does, by how much he wins, Mike Rogers can also win. If Trump loses the state of Michigan, Mike Rogers is finito. He's done. Completely done. But we'll see. In 2020, we had John James, a black Republican, actually do a little bit better than Trump in Michigan. Believe it or not. Kind of strange, but it happened. So again, we're nerding out here, but that's the name of the game. You're stuck with me. Anyway, you see here in 2020, Trump lost Michigan officially by over 2 points. But you see here, John James actually only lost by 1.68 percentage points, which you can just see that it's kind of interesting. Very interesting. I don't know what to even make of that, but it's true. So, I mean, could Rogers outperform Trump given that precedent that's very recent? I'd say probably not. But anyway. So let's address the Real Clear Politics Senate map. As you can see here, this is the no toss-up map. So this one is basically like, okay, 99% chance this would happen or whatever. Like, this is very likely to occur. The GOP would net 2 seats. Now, I disagree with this. And again, this bucks the polling, but I have my prediction, okay? So as of October, the first half of October of 2024, I'd predict that the Republicans are going to obviously flip West Virginia from Joe Manchin, flip John Tester's seat in Montana. Now you're up at 51 seats in the Senate. So now you don't even need a tiebreaker like J.D. Vance if Trump were to win. But also, I'm assuming Ohio would go red. I also think that if Ohio goes red, you're at 52. Okay, sorry. Whoops. It's like the extra credit scene in a Marvel movie, okay? I made a mistake. I forgot Nevada. Now, for some reason, this is not, I'm a victim, trust me. Okay, look, they removed Nevada from the Battleground states. Now, this is asinine, as even if Jackie Rosen were to win Nevada for the Democrats, it'd probably be by less than what also Brooks would win by in Maryland. So what the hell are we doing here? How is Nevada less competitive than is Maryland or is Montana? Like, are you freaking serious? Anyway, as you can see here, Rosen is leading Brown by 7.5. And I did tell you guys earlier, months ago, that this race would narrow over time. As you can see here, it hardly really has, although you can see how the trend is that Brown is going to catch up eventually. Though we do only have a few weeks until the election, and so I don't think it'll be enough by then. But the same general philosophy extends to Brown as does Hovde and does McCormick and whatnot, is that, like, obviously if Trump were to win Nevada by, let's say, 3, that Brown doesn't really have anything going against him that someone would say, like, okay, I'm not voting for the burn victim, but I will vote for Trump. More than likely, 98% of people will vote for both in tandem with each other. So I just don't believe these polls. To be quite clear, like, for example, this most recent one has Rosen winning by 8. That's asinine. Atlas Intel, which is very reputable, has Rosen only winning by 2. I can believe that. Plus, that was like 3 weeks ago. So I think Time will help the Republicans in virtually every race. So that's that. But for now, yeah, Nevada could stay blue. I think Arizona would stay blue. Virginia would stay blue. That's a sleeper. Again, when Biden was still in the race, you could have thought, oh, red Virginia. Not going to happen now. Anyway, so I think that, again, Wisconsin likely going to stay blue for now. Michigan will likely stay blue for now. Ohio would flip in this case. Pennsylvania also staying blue for right now. And so my only disagreement with this map, honestly, technically, would be that Ohio would be red. And it should show that in the map soon enough. And so the GOP should net 3 seats. That would be 52 seats to 48. And that's a pretty good result for the GOP. With, again, another like 3 or 4 possible pickups in the 3 Rust Belt states. And then also Nevada, then Arizona, in that order. Anyways. So like the video if you haven't liked it yet. Comment down below if you have any disagreements or anything at all you want to say. I will read them, I promise, at some point. And subscribe if you haven't yet. I'll see y'all on the next one. Adios.